Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I apologize for being MIA for like 3 weeks now. Simon brought back like this flu bug and it was horrible. Everybody was sick for like 2 weeks. And then he had February break and finally he's back at school. I don't know if it's just us or I feel like this winter has just been brutal. I think he's Simon's been sick like 4 times in the last 2.5 months. And he never gets sick, so it's just been a weird winter. But hopefully we're at the tail end of all of this. But let's without wasting any more time, let's get into today's video. I wanted to talk about the neurological process of praxis, or sometimes interchangeably called motor planning today. It's a bit of a loaded topic, so just bear with me while I go through some important definitions, and I'll try to explain it as much as possible and break it down for everyone. But this is a very critical topic, so just bear with me while we go through this. And there's going to be some definitions I'll be reading off of my laptop on the side. So let's get started. Jean Ayers, she was an occupational therapist and she did a lot of pioneering work in the field of sensory integration. She defined praxis as a neurological process by which cognition directs motor action. What does that mean? Praxis is the ability to conceptualize, plan, organize, and execute a new action. And it's got 4 components: ideation, motor planning, execution, and feedback. Ideation is basically coming up with an idea or conceptualizing an idea of what to do. Motor planning is coming up with a sequence of steps and interactions and movements our body has to do in order to perform that or act upon that idea. Execution is our brain sending the right signals to our muscles and joints in order for our body to move in that sequence to perform those steps. And feedback and adaptation is taking feedback from step 3 while performing those interactions and adapting or changing or adjusting our motor plan accordingly. So that's a lot, I know. But let's go through an example. So let's say it's bedtime and we have to brush our teeth in order to get ready for bed. So that's an idea, that we have to brush our teeth. Step 2 is the motor plan. So, and this can be as detailed, but for this video, let's just come up with some few basic steps. So in order to brush your teeth, we would have to walk into a restroom, pick up our toothbrush, apply toothpaste, brush your teeth, fill our rinsing cup, rinse our mouth, clean our toothbrush, and put it back. Those are the steps or the motor plan. Execution will be moving our body in those in a sequence of steps in order to perform all those steps or act upon that motor plan that we came up with. And feedback and adaptation would be, let's say while you're rinsing your mouth, you realize the water is really hot. So you drain it, you readjust your faucet, and you refill your cup, and then you rinse your mouth. So you took feedback from step 3 while executing that motor plan, and you readjusted and you adapted and you finished your motor plan. Now, children who struggle with praxis, it shows up in many, many different ways. But they're the ones that have a hard time learning what we call activities of daily living or living skills, like getting dressed, bathing, feeding themselves, tying their shoes. All of that requires a motor plan. Actually, everything we do from the minute we wake up till we go to sleep, every interaction, everything we do requires some level of praxis process. Once we have done those processes enough, they become part of our skill set, which includes, again, things that we do on a daily basis: feeding ourselves, bathing, eating. We don't even think about it anymore. It's just part of our subconscious plan. children who struggle with this just take a lot longer to learn those steps, and they have a hard time coming up with new and novel ideas to uh, perform those skills, or to perform new tasks. These are the children that have struggle with pretend play, because in order to be able to pretend play, your every interaction is dependent on the previous interaction. And social skills. So uh, when we are in an engaged in social play, our response is based on the responses of our social partner. When you have a breakdown in the process of praxis, you are unable to do that. So children will have show a lot of times repetitive play. Uh, they have issues with bilateral coordination, meaning using both sides of your bodies effectively, using both hands to be able to catch a ball, or button your shirt, or zip up your jacket, or they're unable to establish a dominant hand because they're not using both sides of their bodies effectively. And by that, what I mean is, like, take like an imaginary pencil and draw a line starting from here and divide your body into two equal parts. And can you symmetrically or asymmetrically use both sides effectively? Riding a bicycle, again, buttoning shirts, tying your shoelaces, all those require good bilateral integration. A simple test you can do to check quickly at home is, I'm gonna think it's this book. Right there. Have your child stand in this position, hands apart, legs shoulder width apart. Ask them to use this hand to touch this foot, this hand to touch this foot. Chances are, if they have poor bilateral coordination, they're going to use this hand and touch this foot, and this hand and touch this foot. This is just something silly, simple you can do at home, but it's always good to consult an occupational therapist. It's highly recommended to consult an occupational therapist when you're dealing with this. And if you think about it, it also affects our speech. So language and speech are two different things. Language is your cognition, your vocabulary, your ideas, your thoughts, your feelings. And speech is what verbally comes out of my mouth. So I may have the language part intact, but if there is a breakdown in my praxis planning between my brain and my oral motor muscles, I may know what to say, but it may not come out right. Now, it's hard to diagnose apraxia of speech. It's called apraxia of speech or verbal dyspraxia. And a lot of times children are misdiagnosed. So it's really critical that if you suspect that, to consult your SLP and make sure that they're doing all the necessary evaluations and tests. We have had a lot of disagreement over that over the years. But I do think Syme has a pretty severe case of verbal apraxia as well. Motor planning or praxis issues are heavily dependent on our body's ability to effectively process sensory information. If you think about it, body awareness is so important in order to be able to come up with the right motor plans to do some gross motor skills or fine motor skills. You need balance and movement senses working properly, which is your vestibular system. You need to be able to effectively taking information from your other five senses and processing it in order to know how to react to your environment. So children who struggle with sensory integration will usually have that showing up in their ability to motor plan and execute. I'm going to read some typical signs of developmental dyspraxia off of my laptop here. So like slow to achieve developmental milestones. So like Siam was actually great with his initial basic milestones in his first year of life. Like he was rolling over at 3 months and sitting and crawling at 5 months. He walked at like 9 months. But I remember that once he started getting a bit older, like at his first birthday, I bought him one of those ride on cars that you sit on and then you use both feet in like a asymmetrical motion to push yourself forward. No matter how much we taught him, he could never do that. He was like 1 and he was still not holding his bottle by himself. And I remember like my mom, that's when she came back from, moved in with us for a few months, and she was like, why is he not doing that yet? And she started showing him, and then he eventually picked up. So he couldn't come up with that idea on his own to do it, but once he was shown, it became a skill, and then he was doing it. He could play with smaller balls with one hand and throw them, but we could never get him to use both hands together to catch like a bigger ball if being thrown at him. So those were some of the signs. Like now that when I go back think about it, I'm like, okay, those were things that we should have. They should have been like bigger red flags to me. Avoid tasks during requiring good manual dexterity, like playing with puzzles or small Lego. So science will still play with like Lego Duplo, which are bigger blocks, but smaller blocks are very hard for him to do. They are messy eaters. They could be clumsy, difficulty riding bike, lack of limited imaginative play. We talked about that. Difficulties coordinating both hands together. Same thing, buttoning up shirts. Zipping up your jacket, difficulty during physical education, high levels of movement, limited concentration. Now that overlaps with sensory issues, slow to complete classwork, problems with self-help skills such as using cutlery, dressing, or tying shoelaces, difficulty forming relationships with peers. Naturally, social interactions require you to come up with new ideas and motor plan and execute with each interaction of reciprocity. And when you have a breakdown in that process, it's very hard to form the social relationships. Some of the typical things that I've seen done in occupational therapy to help with praxis issues is building obstacle courses and having a child go through those and making tiny adjustments in each course and seeing if they can problem solve and adjust. Legos, build something with Lego and see if your child can copy it. There's this game we used to play when we were little that was called Simon Says. So it was like, Simon Says, touch your head. Everybody touches their head. And if you don't say Simon Says and you say something, you're not supposed to do it. I think that's how we played it back in the day. So you can do that with your child and see if they can copy the motions you're doing. And if they can, then have them be the leader and come up with a new idea of what Simon Says is going to do. So that's a good way to practice for praxis. And let's see what else. Storytelling is helpful. See if they can come up with those new ideas in their head to come up with a story, or imagine a story. Hopefully everybody has a better understanding of praxis and motor planning after watching this video. I will try to address the topic of sensory integration next time, and with the combination of both videos, you will have a better understanding of your children's struggles. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.